Welcome to the first episode of the Dirt Path podcast. When you chase your dreams, the world conspires with you to achieve them. Now, I've been a big believer of that quote ever since I read The Alchemist a few years ago. It's been true in so many different ways in my life when I've really taken that leap and chose to go straight towards that dream. You're going to hear that quote or that theme in my story. If you listen to my interview in a few episodes, you'll be definitely hearing a lot of this theme in today's episode with today's guest, and even more so with how I met today's guest, because that's a beautiful story as well. It was only a few months ago now when I was told that my dream job was being eliminated. And I was given two options. One option was to return to engineering, the job I had before that, but I knew it wasn't my end-all, be-all in life. Or I could take a severance package and decide to build something of my own. And so that's what I decided to do. And the week after I made that decision, Paige and I had already planned a road trip up the Maine coast, where we'll be doing a lot of camping and different stuff like this. Well, the first full day was pouring rain. So we decided to go to this cute little cafe in Stonington in Maine, where we met today's guest, Ed Hamilton. Ed inspired me incredibly with his story, as you will hear today on today's podcast, with his taking the leap, with hearing how the world conspired with him to achieve his dreams. And I left that cafe in that day feeling really good about the decision that I had just made. Unfortunately, I also left that cafe with a feeling like, man, I really should have gotten Ed's contact info. I would love to just meet with him more. He shared so much wisdom. Would love to have the chance to talk with him again. And especially when later I had the idea of starting the Dirt Path podcast, I felt like it was such an incredible story that I would love to share. Well, fast forward only a few weeks later, when Paige was at our favorite local coffee shop, which you'll be hearing from that owner on the next episode in the Dirt Path. All of a sudden, who does she see walking down the street but Ed? If you know Paige, she immediately went up to him, started chatting his ear off. They had a nice coffee together, and we met up with Ed multiple times after that, where he shared even more of his story and wisdom. We got to meet his beautiful wife, Barb, who you'll also hear about in today's story. And at the end, before we left Maine, I asked Ed to come on the podcast and be my very first guest. Now, Ed normally doesn't do many of these types of things, podcasts or media in general, but he was incredibly nice to give us even more of his time and share more of his wisdom. And I'm so incredibly blessed to now be sharing that with you all today. So again, Ed is today's trailblazer, where on his path, it's all about taking the leap and chasing your dreams. From an incredible opportunity to really change the whole landscape of his life, to starting to build a business in a new country, to the love story and finding his wife and that beautiful moment, building a business with his wife, and now how he's enjoying retirement. You can listen to this podcast over and over and find so many tidbits of wisdom that Ed has dropped, that he dropped with us since I've known him. And I'm so incredibly lucky to be having him today to share this wisdom with you all. Now, if you are just listening to today's episode, I'd really encourage you to change it up. Check out the Dirt Path podcast on YouTube, or check out the video version on Spotify, because Ed was his super kind self, where he also provided us some really, really cool photos from his whole life, where we shared on the video podcast today some of the photos as he's going through those moments. So I'd really encourage you to also be checking out the video again on Spotify, or YouTube. But without further ado, let's jump into today's path and take a walk with Ed. I believe where you're from is called, is it the Scilly Islands? Is that what?
Scilly Isles.
Scilly,
It's
okay.
pronounced silly, but it's spelled S-C-I-L-L-Y.
Okay. And I was looking at photos briefly, I remember, and it almost looks like the Caribbean, but like it is in Britain.
It's the same level as Canada,
Okay.
but the Gulf Stream means you don't get the frost and the snow.
Yeah.
It doesn't get that hot either. You don't get heat waves, but
Okay.
there's palm trees growing like that.
Wow. And that's where you were like born and
No. I moved there when I was about 12, but no,
Okay.
no, wait a minute, no, more than that. Sorry. Yeah, I guess it was about 13. No. And yeah, I think it was the most perfect place to go out.
Yeah.
It was,
And were you already into boating and everything with the ocean
yes,
before
but
that?
I mean, everything was boating there. I mean, you went to the grocery store by boat. And so
Wow.
it was perfect for a kid that was keen on the sea and loved boating.
But before the Scilly Islands, had you done much of boating?
Yes, at school I did.
You did?
You
Okay.
know, I went to a boarding school, and that was part of it. I actually learned to sail at school.
Oh, wow.
When I was like 10 years old, 10, 11.
Oh, wow. And when we met at the cafe in Stonington, I guess in
Yeah.
kind of the South Deer Isle, there's many parts of your story that I found really inspiring and cool. Probably the one that stuck out the most was you told me you decided to sail across the Atlantic with some friends to the Caribbean. Can you tell that story?
It was a delivery. Yes, it was a spontaneous thing. I mean, after college, I got a job in Leamington, which is on the south coast. It's very much a sailing area. And then I worked in a marine store for a couple who also were keen racing people. So I raced every weekend, practiced every Wednesday, and really had a fantastic summer. I mean, it was just perfect for what I wanted. And I was actually making money as well, a little bit of money. But at the end of the summer, I learned of a boat that needed crew, boat being delivered across to the Caribbean and then on up the western side of the state. But then it was just, I had 48 hours notice. It was one of those life-changing things. I mean, it was an opportunity. I could have had thousands of reasons not to go. You know, I mean, it's just a chance. But I decided to do it, packed up my duffel bag, and left. My parents just made it up in time from Scilly, in time to see me off. I mean, God, what we do to our parents is absolutely terrible. It's ghastly. So they waved goodbye to me, and it took us a month to get across because the boat was a racing boat. It was 80 feet, but only 12 feet wide. And didn't really have an engine. So when it was calm, we swam around the boat in the middle of the Atlantic. But it was a wonderful experience. So just four of us, a couple, a captain, his wife, and another young lad like me. And
how old are you when you did this?
I was 24.
24.
Yeah, I helped deliver boats before and that sort of thing. But this obviously was a big step. It was one of those instantaneous things, and it was one of those better decisions of one's life. I think you have to seize these things sometimes. I mean, it's all very well to say you're lucky, you know, what great luck you've had. Half the time, it's actually taking advantage of that luck and not finding reasons not to do it. And I think that was really key for me. But I got off the boat in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands. The boat left that afternoon, so I was there. I wasn't going anywhere. And by the time I got through immigration people, I did everything wrong, saying I didn't have a return flight, I didn't have any way home, all that sort of stuff. I didn't have a job. But they let me in anyway. And I had $200 or under $200, I think, left in the world. I mean, I didn't have credit cards or anything. And it took me a little while to get a job. I pestered Charlie Carey, who started the Moorings, which is a huge charter company now, but then it was 5 boats. And he eventually gave me a job. So I was one of the early managers of the Mooring.
Okay.
But it took me a month to get it. But it's hard to starve in a place like that, really, because people fed me. I did odd jobs for people, that sort of thing. I really didn't have any money at all. But I got a job, and quite honestly, I thought I died and gone to heaven. I didn't have anything, but I was in a fantastic place, all kinds of opportunities.
And before the trip, before you had that 48-hour window and you decided to leave, did you have the feeling like you were going to stay there, or were you thinking, "Oh, I'll just do this and come back"?
No thoughts of going to the Caribbean. I was thinking of going to the Seychelles, of all places.
Okay, so you thought maybe do this boat and then take that somewhere else?
No, I just made a decision in 48 hours that this is where I'm going.
Wow.
And I lucked out. It's a question of just taking advantage of things when they come along.
And how long was that trip at sea?
It was exactly a month.
A month.
I actually arrived in Barbados on my 25th birthday.
Wow.
So it was one of those, really quite moving times, because we saw the island just in the end of the day. And of course it got dark, and we came in the dark, and there was a steel band playing coming across the water. And it was perfect, for a young person. It was absolutely perfect. We found out in the daylight that it came from a Holiday Inn hotel, so it took away from it a little bit. But and it was an inspiring moment. And we went up the Caribbean chain, and as I say, I got off in Tortola. And chartering was only just starting there. I got a job at the Moorings. I was basically in charge of, I guess as a manager, you did a bit of everything. We chartered, we saw if they could sail. It was a bareboat company, so people came down and rented the boat and sailed it themselves. So you had to check them out, see if they could sail a 40-foot boat, but it's surprisingly easy to do that, actually, when you just see how people walk around the boat, how comfortable they are. But I did that for just under a year. Then I managed a smaller charter company that was moving across from St. Thomas. It just had 9 boats, but I was the manager there, and we had a small staff of about 4. But that was a great experience. And then that was in 73. And so in 75, I started my own company.
Okay.
With a partner. In Tortola. I had a partner who's, a lot of the money part of it. He was in the States, and he managed the booking office and all that sort of stuff. I managed the base. And we started with 5 Morgan 41s. The way that chartering works is that you sell the boat privately. You have a batch of boats built, so they're all exactly the same. So parts are not a problem. And then you sell them to individuals, and then it's a lease back arrangement. For 3 or 5 years. And so the person gets a very cheap boat, but it's an old boat after 3 years. They get chartered many, many weeks in the year. And so they work hard. It's a great test of how good a boat is, because you see what breaks very easily. So we started with the 5 boats. The new marina had just been built. And we added the next year, I think it was like 10 38 footers. So it was expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And by 1981, we actually had 50 boats and like 55 staff, something like that.
Wow, so it expanded very quickly.
It did expand. Well, it's over 9 years. No, how many years it was. But yes, we expanded each year, getting new boats, and they went from 36 feet up to 50 feet. So they were not small change. I mean, they were, and they were new boats.
Mm-hmm.
So the company did well. It started, it got bigger and bigger. I'm not sure we made more money, but we got bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
The strange thing about it is that it was 55 staff. We were only allowed 5 work permits.
Okay.
So that's for people off the island. Everyone else was a Tortolan.
Okay.
Local Tortolan. So your whole middle management was Tortolan. The thing about that is that Tortolans were very protected. In other words, we actually caught a guy stealing something red-handed, absolutely stole a drill. And I fired him. I said, can't have you around here with, can't trust you. And just like an hour later, he came back with the authorities saying, this man said he didn't do it. You've got to hire him back. And we did. And so it really changed the whole way of running a company, which was a fabulous experience for me. It was all through encouragement. Totally. You had no authority. You couldn't fire anyone. You couldn't even really tell them that they'd done a bad thing.
Right. So how do you instead motivate them if you can't ever do anything like that?
It's a strange thing. Well, we did it. I'm going to try and think of an example. I mean, one time we had one young fellow that his only job was to empty the block ice machine we had. And one time he just sat in the corner and he said, no, I'm not doing it, And if I'd said, you've got to do it, he'd just go more and more down into his little space in the corner. So I got up and started doing it myself. And he immediately jumped up and said, oh, no. I said, no, not you. So you get the bit of respect there, maybe, but not through authority. It's through encouragement and showing example. We also had a favorite thing where we challenged, this was in the later years when it was quite a big company, we challenged another paper company. I was very good friends with the people that ran it.
Okay.
They were about the same size, also with around 50, 55 employees. So we challenged them to a race. And so all the staff would sail these boats, racing. We even started it with a Le Mans start and dinghies. So they had to jump in their dinghies and charge out to these boats and then race up the channel. And they took it really seriously. I mean, it was... and
did you win the race?
Oh, I don't know how many... I can't remember, quite honestly. We did several of them.
Okay.
And we did our fair share of winning. We had very matched boats. We used a 38 Heritage, and they had a 35, I think it was, 36. And so they were pretty matched.
Right.
And they had a wonderful time. And then we ended up in an island that's almost deserted, with a lovely big white beach and everything, and piled them there, and then did a huge barbecue. And it was things like that they would look forward to. And it was about them, They felt that they, first of all, in charge of these boats, expensive boats, but, they knew how to handle them. And, oh, God, to make the skippers used to get all the his crew was standing on the edge, really doing it seriously for the weight, to get the weight down. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I love that because it came out of what a lot of people might, be really frustrated with is you caught somebody stealing, you basically couldn't fire them. And it's like, why the system is corrupt, and just get frustrated and, not want to move on. But you took that as like okay, we just have to figure it out.
If you get frustrated, you're in the wrong place.
Right.
Obviously there was all kinds of stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it was wonderful in that there really wasn't, it was really total integration. It was really terrific. I remember one guy coming down to film
Mm-hmm.
an evening. I can't remember what he was filming, but we were at this resort and they have fungi bands,
Okay.
which are little local music bands. And everyone was dancing up in the courtyard. And he said, do you think we could, filming it, do you think we could get the black people over here and the white people over here? And of course, everyone was dancing together. There was nothing like that there.
Wow.
It was true integration in that we could be really quite flippant with each other. I mean, nowadays you can't say anything bad about a different race or anything like that. This way, we both used to joke about it. We'd meet in the pub, we'd all be integrated totally, and we'd make fun of each other. I mean, they'd say, you honky such and such, and all these terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And, it would be the same, but it was quite natural.
Right.
It was fun. And it was a very different way of having it, living, actually. Very, very different. Because, of course, you were outnumbered. I mean, when I arrived in Tortola, I think there were 12 white families, permanent white families there.
Wow.
And there's several thousand on the island.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you're desperately outnumbered.
Mm-hmm.
Which made it really good, interesting. It was a fantastic experience. It really was. But
I think sometimes nowadays we almost hyperfixate on that aspect.
It's too much. It's too much.
And
people think, oh, you can't say that too. But it actually, if you were relaxed enough together, both sides, it worked.
Right.
And we used to have all kinds of fabulous evenings at the pub. We always used to meet at the pub, which I happened to live next door to. But it was, and I hated cooking, so I never even actually hooked up my stove for a whole year. Because the pub was next door. I had breakfast at the marina and lunch and dinner at the pub. So it was a lot of fun. And
anything else in terms of the, just the culture of Tortola or living there that really jumps out at you, that's really different from the U.S.?
Growing, huge. It was growing. I mean, as I say, chartering was just starting. If you sailed into a bay and there was another boat there, you sailed into another bay. And it was nothing there. Now there's like maybe 100 boats in one of the bigger bays. It's crazy. So yes, it was very different, and it was. I mean, nowadays a lot of the local people are really good captains and have key jobs in the charter business, and it's great. But in those days, there really wasn't a lot of. There weren't many qualified people. I mean, my manager, the dock manager, Springett, I remember, wonderful, wonderful man. He was an older guy, but he was a bricklayer. And so I taught him, everything about boats, basically, and dock management. And it was fine. And you weren't dealing with people that actually had a lot of experience. So a lot of it was starting. And again, there comes the enthusiasm.
Yeah.
That's what makes it work.
Right. Right.
It's that was the key part of it. And it was a wonderful learning experience for me. It really was. I mean, met some incredible people down there coming through. And it was, it was a fun place to live. I mean, also, we were just getting out of the 60s, it seems, and then, so it was pretty casual living. But I kind of decided that I was going to be a bachelor, and I'd had a bad problem with a girl that lived with me for a couple of years, actually. It was a terrible breakup, and she actually ended up burning all my clothes and my papers and everything. I started again one night, and when, anyway, different stuff. But I resolved never to hurt a woman that much again. She had a nervous breakdown because we weren't going to get married. That's what it was. And she had a nervous breakdown, and I couldn't face hurting someone like that again. So I'd rather not have any more long-term relationships. And when I actually left in 81, I moved back up to work with my partner in the booking office selling boats.
Okay.
And the guy that had been my manager down there took over my position. And when I got there, I was, I was a confirmed bachelor. I was not interested, really. Well, let me say not interested, but I accepted the fact.
Mm-hmm. Not maybe looking actively.
No, well, not really wanting to be. I don't know what it was. Really, it was. I guess I'd had a good time in Tortola, but I was also getting older and had other things. I was anyway. But I met Barb, actually, who is the office manager for my partner. And I'd known her various visits, obviously. And we definitely liked each other. And it was, we were good friends. And it wouldn't have really worked because I was then planning on going back down to Tortola and starting another charter company.
Okay.
With much smaller, a much smaller company with some really high-end boats.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I was going to do. And I decided that before I did that, I wanted to go back to Tresco and the City Isles, see my parents for a month or so in the summer. And I just said to Barb, would you want to come and just visit? She loved the idea of England. She'd never been there.
Because she's from the U.S., right?
Yes, yeah. She lived in Connecticut.
Okay.
In Greenwich. And, it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have worked because I was going to be going back down there, and she had 2 young children that she had to, obviously worry about and think about. And that just the romance just wouldn't have gone anywhere. Yeah. And so I just did this, and I didn't know if she'd come or not, but she did.
Yeah.
And changed my life completely. When she came, we realized that I just fell head over heels. I mean, I just adored her, and we just clicked totally. She called up her mother saying, I'm staying another week. And can you tell Wally, my partner, her boss? And he couldn't say no because,
Yeah.
And so she stayed, and it was one of those just magical times. It just worked.
And this was all on the Scilly Islands.
Tresco, right. Yeah. It's a beautiful island. I mean, it worked its magic. But we just really clicked. It was strange because it was just luck. If she hadn't applied for that job, I'd never have met her. And then if she hadn't come to Tresco, it wouldn't have worked. But it just did, and we just totally clicked. I mean, but it does come down to luck sometimes. It does.
I heard a reframe of luck. I can't remember when, but and I really liked it, which is, success is really when opportunity meets preparation in a way. A lot of people call it luck, but when I hear your story, I think of you had 48 hours to choose to decide to go on a boat across the world, right? You met Barb, this woman that was at a changing time of your life, and you decided to take the chance.
It was just so different. I'd actually never told a girl I'd loved her, I don't think, in my life before, because I took that really serious. But this was so different. It just absolutely, it's amazing. I mean, she's very, you can met her, so but she was very beautiful and had modeled clothes for Lord and Taylor and all this sort of stuff. But that was a negative for me, which is so weird. I kept thinking, she could have anyone. Why is she like me? And was this just I mean, we could tell it wasn't a positive thing because we really did fall for each other. And when I got to know her, of course, that was all fine.
Yeah.
But the initial reaction was that, which is very strange. And when I came back to the States, she went home, obviously, after 2 weeks. I moved in with her just right away, just straight in. And I had an instant family. Bill was 12, I think, and Bill was 10, and Lisa was 12, I think. And it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. And we decided, of course, the whole idea of another company and Tortola and that sort of thing went out the window, totally. And we decided to leave TYC, the charter company, and try and find a place. We kept driving further north. We came up to Maine, and we came into Wiscasset, and Bob said, "This looks really quite nice. Let's look around here." We went to a real estate place. They took us out to this big old farmhouse in 50 acres inland, and Bob couldn't wait to get out of it. She just thought it was terrible. It was pretty dilapidated. I came out and I said, "Isn't it wonderful?" So, and when we could see what we could do with it, yes, and we got it for nothing, absolutely nothing. I mean, I think it was less than we paid our painters for our new house that we built. The whole thing, 50 acres, and the 17-room farmhouse. 17 tiny rooms. We knocked down a lot of walls. It took us a year to working on the house. And we did it all ourselves, everything. And we didn't really have a lot of money, and we did everything ourselves. It was a wonderful time. It was a really happy time.
And how long until you guys decided to open up the charter business?
Well, we didn't right away, although, yeah, I guess we'd planned. That was the plan right from the beginning. But it went very slowly in the beginning. Okay. We were gradually running out of money, and we had to take on a few other jobs. I sold advertising for Monmouth Theatre. And that sort of thing. I could sell anything, basically. But we took on jobs like that and finished the house. Katie was born just after luckily we finished the house by then. and we started the company in earnest. But it took a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you decide to work for yourself, it's very different. A lot of people aren't suited to it. And so I've always worked for myself, basically, or with a partner, whatever.
What do you think are the qualities that one should have to start working for themselves? Why do you think it worked for you and Barb?
I think it worked for us. Well, I guess I'm not a very good committee person. I don't know. I found that out when I joined Carpenter's Boat Shop recently as a board member. And it's the first time I've really been on a committee. But no, I think there's always the idea that you can do something really quite special. You know, when you succeed, it's all about you succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble also is that when you fail, it's all about you. And what people don't really realize, you know, especially when they see a company that eventually did become very successful, as we did, but when they see that, they forget that there's an awful lot of work that goes in before that. And we took, I think, around 12 years before we really started making any decent profits.
Wow.
Which is a long time. And we worked so much harder. When you work for yourself, you work so much harder than anyone that's working for you. You really do. I mean, in those days, there wasn't any internet, of course, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And everything came in by phone or mail. And the packages that you sent to people went out by mail. And the big test was to try and get back to everyone that called that day by the end of the day. These packages were big, and they basically contained details of boats that we recommended for people.
Okay.
So the whole company basically was like a travel agency, if you like, for boats, but we were matching people up with suitable boats,
right,
or suitable crews if they were cruise boats,
mm-hmm.
and that was the whole skill. And we did it really seriously, which I think is why we were eventually a success.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone called us, I mean, very often people would call us and say, "I booked this boat for me. I like such and such. It says that's a great boat," or, you know, "It looks good," or something like that. Instead of saying, just taking their money and booking it, my first question was always, why?
Mm.
Why do you go with that?
Mm-hmm.
Every single time they ended up with a different boat, because, you know, and it would have been a more suitable boat.
Right.
So we resisted the temptation of really getting every dollar we could possibly get very easily.
Because sometimes it might be a boat that could be cheaper as well, right?
Yes, yes. And money obviously came into it.
Sure.
But you're spending a week, especially with a cruise boat, you're spending a week with two people.
Mm-hmm.
If you get along with those people, it makes the holiday. If you don't, it's a disaster. It doesn't matter how good the boat is.
Right.
So we really, with crew boats particularly, we matched people up. And so obviously knew these boats well. I mean, we'd go down to boat shows and interview the crews and all this sort of stuff and write them up.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would be sending these people maybe 5 boats with all the photographs, the details of the crew, what they enjoyed, and that sort of thing. And you get into really detail with these people,
mm-hmm.
with the customers, saying, what do you really like? What do you want to do in the holiday? What do you enjoy? Food, that sort of thing. But it was more about what you enjoy, what you imagine, and it gets quite personal.
Yeah.
And also, everyone loves to talk about their holiday. So I had the personal number for huge CEOs of companies that salesmen would die to get, but they'd always say, "Oh, call me directly." And, I even talked to one guy, a surgeon, in the middle of surgery. One time he took my call. So yes, I mean, you had such a range of people and looking for such a range of things. There were the like students on summer break, or spring break or whatever, looking for a boat cheap as possible. And then you had the film star that was, or prosperous guy who was looking for a mega yacht. And we booked everything. I mean, some of those mega yachts, people were dropping well over 100,000 on a week.
Wow.
And their wine bill was probably 15,000. I mean, it was crazy money. But the danger when you're getting into those big ones is that if anything goes wrong, then you're talking to lawyers.
Right.
And a lot of other brokers actually did have a lot of trouble with that. They were sued and all kinds of things. We never got sued, and all the thousands of trailers we arranged, we never did.
Why do you think that was?
Because we were really careful about getting the right people on the right boat. And we really were. We went to huge efforts to make that work. We came close. I mean, I think the closest was a fellow that was booking a large boat down right over Christmas, and when everything that floats is booked. So we did that, and unfortunately that boat couldn't make it, but we got him another boat that was fine. Funnily enough, those mega yachts are incredibly unreliable. It's so complicated.
So many moving pieces. Yes. One little thing goes wrong.
And something goes wrong, and there's a problem. But no, we did this. We got in the other boat. In the meantime, he had rented a Learjet for taking his people down to the island, like I think 10 of them or something like that. But I mean, that's thousands of dollars. And the boat couldn't make it.
Wow.
And right before Christmas, it was coming from England. It got into trouble. It wasn't going to be there. There was no boat he could take. Nothing. So here's a guy that's, we're spending probably a couple of $100,000. Maybe not quite that much, but a lot of money. And he wasn't getting all of it back. I mean, obviously the boat part came back, but there are so many other things on a holiday like that you book that you can't get back.
Sure.
And so here's someone going to lose an awful lot of money. So it was a long phone call. I mean, over an hour I talked. And thank goodness I was talking to the guy rather than lawyers.
Right.
And so we talked and talked and talked. And we finally decided that I would donate money to his favorite charity. And that was how we settled it. It was a significant amount of money, but it was a lot less than it would have been with lawyers.
Right.
So that's the closest we ever got to being sued.
But it shows again, when you're faced with a problem, what I really appreciate out of you and your story is, how can you make this into a positive? I mean, this is the circumstance. What's the best I can do here? And going the extra mile, the personal touch.
I think that's so key. It's so key. I mean, it's key in a marriage, it's key in a business, everything. I think, yes, it was incredibly lucky to have found Barb. It really was. But the true test really is what comes afterwards.
Right.
That is really key. And I think if you have to start thinking about the other person, it's so easy when things get difficult to think what's best for you. But you have to think the other way around, and it just puts it in a different perspective. It really does. And I use that in the company as well. When I had someone calling that was unhappy with something on the charter or something that had gone wrong, it's very often the women that really called me on that, and very rude, some of them. But I would show that I was understanding what they thought and got at it from their side.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that and that sort of thing. And then finally I'd say, well, look at it from my side. That's why we can't do it.
Right.
And people would actually apologize for being rude. Nothing is gained by being rude.
Yeah.
It really isn't, I feel. And actually with Barb and I, everyone has a different idea of what works and what doesn't work, but we were totally equal. I made it this clear, and I would never tell her that she had to do something because I was the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't used to that. She'd been used to the other, rather. And she started asking, first thing when we first started knowing each other, she'd start saying, asking to do things. And that's when this came out. And I never did. And she never did to me. Of course, we had differences of opinion.
Sure.
But we didn't work it out because I tell her this is the way it is.
Right.
We were totally equal. And right from the beginning, we had the same bank account. Totally, credit cards and checks and everything came out of the same account. Still does. Just one account.
And can I ask, when you moved to Maine, you said it was a little bit before you started the charter business. Like, how much time were you guys together before you started the business together?
The idea was when we moved. I mean,
okay. So it's pretty soon after you met, right?
We'd actually, we in 81, she came to Tortola, to Tresco, I mean. And in 82, April 82, we went back to Tresco together, and I proposed to her. Okay. So Tresco has a huge part of my past life and my life with Barb, and also with Katie now. Katie loves Diana. And so it's a very special place for us. But then late 82, we got married in October.
Okay.
But we'd already moved up to Maine. We moved up to Maine that summer. And yes, the plan was to do the chartering. And we did start. But I mean, gosh, I think we put 2 charters or something. We were really setting it up. And we couldn't afford advertising, so we did boat shows. And I think 1 year later on, I think I did 15 boat shows in a year. Up in Canada, Toronto, all over the place.
Wow. But did you guys have any fears or anything, any worries of, pretty young overall relationship? I mean, you got married and everything, but still like a year, 2 years before starting the business together. Did you ever have any thoughts about, should we combine business here with our relationship? Like
She was always an equal partner. In the business, in the company we started, she's a 50% partner. And totally, she's equal in life.
But no fears that this could change your personal relationship. It was just, this is what we want to do together.
We were so solid together. We really were. I mean, no, there was never any thought, well, certainly on my part anyway, and I don't think on hers, that anything could go wrong at all. And I think we were very, very much together. We just clicked, and I think, I think the important thing is just really thinking about the other person.
Yeah.
That really is so key. And marriage is work. It is work. Of course it is.
Sure.
But if you approach it in the right way, and sort out problems together, then it works.
It sounds like you had the intentionality from the very beginning of, hey, we're going to be equal partners.
Totally.
In this.
Totally, yeah. That was my part. That because as I say, she hadn't really been up to that point, hadn't been thought of that way.
And the other one you kind of briefly mentioned this, but I want to make sure we come back to this. As you said, it took like 12 years for the business to really, really get going.
We worked our tails off. I mean, as I say, we'd try and get it. It was all about during the day, dealing with the inquiries and getting that done. And then I come in for dinner, and then I go back out to the office and sort out trying to write advertising and doing all the other things that need to be done in the company. And I come back for the 11 o'clock news, and ridiculous hours.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. But I was very happy. I think we both enjoyed our job. I sold, and obviously eventually I had a team selling with me. And Barb did all the details. First of all, the financial stuff. She's a financial wizard. And dealing with the hotel booking and all that sort of stuff, flights for people, all the stuff after the sale. So we worked, it was in the same building. Well, it started out, of course, in our living room, believe it or not. And then we built this addition on to the house, and as the home office got bigger.
And in that 12 years, I mean, how many people were calling you crazy for continuing to do it, or did you ever have self-doubt?
Oh, I mean, right in the beginning, people were saying, "Well, when are you going to get a real job?" All this sort of stuff. And we had faith we could make it work. And I think we were very much the new people on the block. There were some very successful brokers out there that we really ran the whole industry, basically. We were the young ones, and I think there were a few things that really we capitalized on. I think, first of all, really making sure that people were happy with the charter, and we got a really good reputation. Believe it or not, no one took credit cards in those days.
Okay.
Because we were working on a fixed commission. So first of all, the credit card in those days took like 2% or something, and which is a lot of your commission.
Right.
Then also, because you've already sent the money back down to the boat, if you got a card that was declined or someone contested it, we were the middle people,
right,
and liable for the whole thing. And so no one wanted that. But, and we never had a charge, again, like the suing business, we never actually had a chargeback problem. But I sold it really, really under the context that think of it as a marketing expense. And so, yes, it would cost us money, but it would gain us, it's like advertising.
Right.
And it worked.
Right.
The other thing was a toll-free number. We were the first people to have a toll-free number.
So you were leaning into some of the new changes that were happening, and instead of
we were instigating them.
Right. So sometimes a lot of people, I think, in companies, and it sounds like a lot of people in that industry, is a new change comes and it's, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to keep staying the same and kind of begrudgingly doing that, but all too often you get past.
The lead person, Lynn Jightney, was the real huge office, and she actually, I don't think ever really had a computer. So, she was very good at the way she always done it, and she was. No, she did a great job. I mean, that's different, but it was a different approach, and gradually. Yes, after the 12 years, we monitored this. We drew this great chart on the walls, huge. And every fortnight, we put on what we sold, and the lines were going up nicely, and everything was great, except that the costs were going up just the same way. And then all of a sudden, the costs leveled off, and we started going like this, and all of a sudden, it really took off. And we ended up booking more charters in the Caribbean from any independent brokerage than anyone in the world. I mean, we were the biggest anywhere, and booking over 100 charters a month sometimes, which actually is a lot when you think that it could be a 36-foot bareboat, or it could be a $100,000 mega yacht. So I mean, yes, money started coming in, but I think we always kept our good reputation. I think we were at boat shows, we were made a big fuss of, and because these poor crude boats couldn't really book directly; they had to go through a broker. So we were gods to them. But I always made a point, and made my staff the same way. Just, you've got to be humble, and you don't abuse it. You sit down in the saloon of the boat and chat away to them, just naturally. You're not this god that's going to make or break them, even if you are. But you don't give that impression. You don't abuse it, because you never know when it might go against you.
Right.
You might make a mistake. It's very much easier if the boat is on your side. And I think, and then we were lucky again, really, with we've been lucky so many things. When we came to, we were thinking we were going to sell Whitefield, the house and the office and the 50 acres and all that stuff. But we hadn't put it on the market or anything like that. So we were flying down to Antigua, Bob and I, and to a boat show down there. And I was sitting next to someone, and they said, he asked where I lived, that sort of thing. I said, Whitefield. And, we were looking at houses around there. And they said that the problem was they were looking for a farmhouse, but on the old farmhouses, all the roads went right in front of the front door.
Okay.
Because of snow and that sort of stuff. They all did, including ours. But the difference was that they moved the road, and they moved it up to the top of the hill. So we had a private driveway down to our place. And so they came around after we got back from Antigua and bought it. We arranged to buy it. But it didn't go right away, but we got it all worked out. It was perfect for them. And we never used an agent. We never used a lawyer. We went to Moody's Diner. We met at Moody's Diner, went in the final sale with all the papers. It's in Waterville. And the waitress was our witness. So we were lucky again. And when we sold the company, we were lucky. We were looking for another bareboat broker. And I was talking to Steve McRae, who was a guy basically running Sunsail America, which is another big charter company, in Annapolis. And he said, yes, I'll join you if I can buy it. And so we arranged the sale, and then he worked for like 3 years with us, learning the trade. And we didn't announce it at all. It was just all a secret, not to the staff, obviously, but everyone else. And then, what was it, 2010, I think we did the sale and we retired.
And how was the retired life been for you and Barb? What have you been up to?
Well, I've done all kinds of things. And I was a very keen sculptor. My sister actually is quite a well-known sculptor in England, but I did it as a hobby, and loved it. And I always thought when I retired, that's what I would really lean towards. But I actually didn't. But I'd done some quite a bit of sculpting, but I didn't really have a lot of time. I mean, one that I really remember and had most effect, I think, was a 2-year-old child. The mother called me a few days after she died tragically in a Venetian blind court. It was one of those awful things. And she wanted a sculpture of her child to remember her. And it took me a long time to do it because I only did it one evening a week, quite late at night because I was working, obviously, so much for the other thing. But I could feel that child. I really could. I mean, I remember trying to figure out maybe an eye or some eyebrow or something, some detail, and how does this really go? And it would just come, and I'd feel that child there. And it's one of those weird things. And we did this. I didn't charge for the sculpture; I did it for free.
Yeah.
But she paid for the bronzing, which is a few $1,000. And I went down to the dedication. It's outside a zoo, a monkey's cage in a zoo, which the child had loved. It's on a bench there. It actually has some of her ashes in it. And so it's a key thing. And the parents both burst into tears actually when they saw it because it was a bit too realistic for them. It looked like the child. They chose the pose and everything, and that was the most satisfying. Any sculptures I did.
I didn't know that one. I had seen a few paintings that you've done.
I started, that was the last thing. I got into doing models as well, model boats, which is a passion of mine, and it takes a long time to do them, and so it'll take a winter maybe for me to do one. But then I got into painting just a few years ago. I've only painted, what was it, eight paintings, oil paintings. I wish I'd learned, my father was quite a well-known painter again, but I never learned anything from him. I never sat with him and figured out painting at all. I wasn't interested. And I got it, and it was very satisfying. But I've done 8 paintings, and 5 of them are of Barb. And then one's of my daughter, and one's of granddaughter, and one's of the house in Whitefield. So it's mostly Barb. And the whole idea was to paint her in those wild young days when we had such fun.
Yeah.
Because the grandchildren particularly have never seen us young. I mean, we've always been these oldies, but we were young once.
Well, you're very young in spirit.
Well,
I can definitely say that.
I don't feel very, but we've been very lucky. We really have. But also, I think it does take a little bit more than that. I really do. I think so. No, we've had a good retirement. I've enjoyed it. I mean, it's nice that we have each other trying it all together. Yeah, and we're happy. We're a good couple.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you. It was, a very powerful timing for me to meet you.
It was a kind of significant little thing, wasn't it? I mean, it was meant to be, I think. We met in a coffee shop, and then we met it. You didn't know my name or anything.
Yeah.
And we just met again.
Yeah. Met
in Bath.
It was the week after, I was told that my position was being eliminated, and I had to make the choice of taking the severance package or going back to engineering, and decided to take the leap. And then the very next week, hearing your story of taking the leap for the sailing adventure and starting the business.
And you're wishing you knew my name, right?
Exactly. And we left, and we hadn't got your contact info, and we run into you and here in Bath, Paige does. And you've been very generous to be able to meet with us a few times to share a lot of wisdom. So I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you.
Well,
and And last question, Ed, before we leave is, someone might be listening out there that is what I call dirt path curious, where they have an idea or they're interested in doing something else. They feel like just their job or their life isn't on the path
crucial.
that they
You like
want.
the job. It's crucial. You get some kind of satisfaction from something anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, just listening to their podcast, they probably already have a lot of ideas from your words, but is there anything that you can say to tell them to shine a little bit of light on that dark dirt path to make it less scary, and any last final advice to have them take that leap?
I don't know. I really just don't be afraid to make changes and take advantage of things as they come along. But a lot of it is really thinking about other people. I think that's the really crucial part of it. I mean, if it's all about you, it goes haywire. It's not all about you. I mean, if you make it that way, then it's very hard, I think, to really get enjoyment out of life, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
For sure.
Anyway,
Ed, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, you're at the same stage basically as we were, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you very much.
You're two really great people.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dirt Path Podcast. You can find any links to support or follow today's Trailblazer in the description below. If you got this far and really liked today's episode, it would mean a lot if you could give us a 5 stars wherever you found this podcast. Subscribe and like on YouTube. And email us. Email us at thedirtpathpodcast@gmail.com to give us feedback, to give us an update of you on your own dirt path, or to send us questions, as we might be doing some Q&A episodes in the future. All right. We'll see you next time here on the Dirt Path.
I saw the exit sign flash by, a whisper in the breeze said, take a chance, don't wonder why, just follow where it leads. Oh, the dirt path, it ain't easy, no map to guide the way. Slow and hard, sometimes uneasy, you stumble through the clay. No signs to tell you where you're bound, no traffic to obey. But every step on broken ground builds something great someday.